In 1953, James Watson and Francis Crick discovered that DNA has a double helix structure with a 4-character code made up of nucleotides and went on to map out that code. This nucleotide code is commonly shown in 4 letters, which are G, A, C, and T, which stand for guanine, adenine, cytosine, and thymine. However, it's unlikely that Watson and Crick fully understood just how much information is stored in DNA and what that information implies about the cause of our universe. It turns out that these 4 characters in the DNA code function similarly to the language of the alphabet, where letters must be arranged in a specific way to portray a specific meaning. There must be a specific arrangement of the chemical bases of G, A, C, and T in the DNA double helix to portray information needed to build protein molecules, which are the building blocks of life and without which life would not exist. DNA contains a specific and complex code to portray information. This is similar to how a written language is specific and complex to portray a specific meaning, since changing just one character in a written language can change the meaning of the sentence entirely. For example, let's eat grandpa versus let's eat grandpa. In this example, the comma changes the entire meaning of the sentence, similar to how changing one character in the DNA code can have drastic changes, such as a change that makes life impossible entirely. According to philosopher of science Stephen Meyer, for every 12 letters in the English language that portrays a meaning, there are 100 trillion other ways of arranging those letters in a way that does not portray a meaning. For example, I ate my dinner can be I yenner tin maid, or I manner yet nid, which doesn't mean anything. Similarly, for every 12 nucleotide base pairs in a DNA strand, there are 100 trillion other ways of arranging those base pairs. The human body has a little over 3 billion DNA base pairs, which means that there are 25 sextillion, or 25 with 21 zeros after it, different ways of arranging these DNA base pairs. In fact, if we untangled a DNA strand from one cell of the human body, that strand would be about 6.5 feet long and would contain more information than an entire set of Encyclopedia Britannica. Even atheist Richard Dawkins has said, the machine code of the genes is uncannily computer-like. And atheist Francis Crick has also said, biologists must constantly keep in mind that what they see was not designed, but rather evolved. However, given the specific and complex information stored in DNA, it seems that naturalistic evolution is not a reasonable explanation of this information, since random mutation of the DNA code over time is vastly more likely to change the code in a way that corrupts the code and makes life impossible than to improve the code towards a more advanced species. This corruption is vastly more likely to make proteins and life impossible. If naturalistic evolution were true, then DNA would need to change over time by keeping the code that's productive for life and discarding the code that's not life-giving, which you should also do when someone tells you something that's not life-giving. Overall, this would need to happen without anything or anyone guiding this process with the intention of having the specific DNA pattern needed to build proteins. However, it's vastly more likely that the blind process of evolution would fail to produce functional proteins than to succeed, especially considering that natural selection is aiming at the functionality of the cell at the time and does not have the foresight to aim at a future functional advantage for the cell, such as to create functional proteins. Therefore, no theory of evolution that depends on undirected chemical processes can adequately account for the information stored in DNA. Given just how much information is stored in DNA and the fact that changes to DNA is vastly more likely to create a code that does not function than to create a functional code, it seems reasonable to believe that the code found in DNA came from the same place that we've experienced information to come from in the past, which is an intelligent source. In fact, we have never found an example of complex and specific information to come from a source other than intelligence. So, chance cannot adequately account for the information found in DNA. However, since universal human experience tells us that complex and specific information always comes from a mind, it is reasonable to believe that the information stored in DNA also came from an intelligent source that created the universe with the intention of allowing life to be possible from proteins to people, which is also consistent with the theistic understanding of God. Please like and subscribe for more videos that share God's love through apologetics, and remember, Jesus loves you.